Hey, this is Notser, and we're taking a look at the Tier 9 Soviet cruiser, Kronshtadt. This is a tease. I am not allowed to show gameplay. I want to. I really do. But we have to deal with that. And I asked my Discord, what do you want to see? Do you want to see the space battle? They do want to see the space battle, but they want to see this first. So the Kronshtadt is going to be a cruiser. A Soviet cruiser with very large gun caliber for a cruiser, 305mm guns. And one of the things that has changed from the leaked stats is the hit points. It's now 59,800. I think the leaked stats were like 88,000. And that was ridiculous, obviously, for a cruiser. It's more in line with what I would expect. Appearance-wise, very sexy. I like the blacked-out turrets. I like the blues, the Soviet-era blues. It's got that quirky single-engine scout aircraft, and then it has, of course, the life rafts. Overall, it looks very battleship-esque, very large, and in charge in some regards, but battleships are going to laugh at you. They're going to be like, 305mm. That's our tier 3, and you have it at your tier 9. So, yeah. As far as armor is concerned, what armor? This is going to be pinned a lot. The Citadel is at the waterline. However, it is very vulnerable in close proximity because the Citadel actually juts out in two specific spots in front of the main gun and the rear gun. As you see, that this little part right in front of this gun, that's the Citadel. 230mm, and you've broken into the Citadel, and it will stick in this ship. There's just enough armor to stick in the ship a lot. And this same weakness is right here on the back. It is very glaring that pretty much everyone, when given an opportunity, is going to aim for right in front or right in the rear of these gun turrets, and there's going to be no mercy as far as that's concerned. Only has 25mm bow and stern, so it doesn't benefit from the German and the American sort of heavy cruiser bow and stern design of 27mm. So what is the significance of that? It can't stop 380mm. That's the significance of that. So 380 will enjoy firing on the bow and stern of the ship. They will feel like a god. This is what the Japanese get to experience. Yeah, that is what the Japanese get to experience. And once you punch through that, you've got 330mm. And a significant amount of it is Citadel. And let's just check the rear. We're 275, so even easier to get into the Citadel of the ship. I would definitely not be close. If I was the ship, I would be as far away as I could get. The gun turrets themselves, low armored, so they're going to break. They're going to break a lot. And they're big. So I would expect this ship, in particular, if you get within close and medium, it's done. You have no chance. Guns are going to break. They're going to break into your Citadel. And literally every single battleship that you face will be able to punch right through. This ship, like many other Soviet cruisers, requires near maximum gun engagements. And that's not going to be attractive for a lot of players. I don't like it. I prefer medium to close range engagements. They're more fun. I think that a tanky ship is more useful towards the objective. If I play in my Soviet cruisers, I always just think, why can't I just be in an American cruiser that has the radar structure that you look for, but it has a tankiness and it's encouraged to get closer. This does not want to be close. It has a maximum gun range of 18.2 millimeters, kilometers. It has 9 305mm guns, and they have a maximum dispersion of, let's de-equip these modules real quick. Everything that influences the ship. Don't really care about chance to light the target on fire and stuff like that. Alright. So, and let's send reserve. Alright, so here's the artillery. We've got 9 305mm guns. Obviously, maximum gun range of 18.2 kilometers. It has a maximum dispersion of 242 meters, which is not very good. It's definitely closer to a battleship than a cruiser. And that's disappointing because this is not a battleship. This is not a battleship. It does not have the armor of a battleship. 20-second reload, 35.3-second turret traverse, sorry. HE shell does 4,200 maximum HE shell damage. Probably not going to see that. The penetration is somewhere in like the 58 millimeters with HE. It's not a German battleship, cruiser, or a British battleship, so it does not benefit from that 1/4 rule. It's a 1/6. 24% fire chance on the HE shell, which is nice. And the 20-second reload is the attractive thing is 20 seconds really aligns very well with fire. You set the fire on the target, they're greedy, they put it out, their damage control lasts from 10 to 17 seconds-ish, and then they're vulnerable again, right in time for your reload to take effect. The AP shell does 9,000 damage. I honestly never found the enemy citadel in a battleship. Never found it. The AP shell was effective when I treated it like, and I fought a lot of German battleships, so they've fixed the issue with the way the shell would penetrate the German battleship citadel. I didn't find it in this build, and I found a lot of success aiming at the top of the hull on the Germans. Got about 10,000 damage per salvo. That's not bad at all, especially at near maximum gun range. The AP shell velocity, 900. HE, 920. Not bad at all. Secondaries are pretty crappy. 5-kilometer base range. It does have 2 HE secondaries, though. 100mm HE and then 152mm HE, which is nice. But you would never actually get in range to use it, because that would be suicide. So I don't know how much this is actually going to matter. Just thought you ought to know that both secondaries are HE. AA defense is really bad. 32 DPS at 1.2 kilometers. 85 at 3.5 kilometers. And then 59 at 5 kilometers. And this is the one that would benefit from manual AA if you were to go. It's really bad. There are destroyers that have better AA protection at this tier. Maximum speed, 33.5 kilometers. Or knots. Turning radius, 840 meters. It's on the more nimble side of battleships. It's not cruiser, though. Definitely not cruiser. Rudder shift, definitely not cruiser. 14.9, ugh. That's bad. That's battleship. That is a battleship cruiser number. Battleship cruiser. That's a battleship rudder shift number. Concealment, 14.3. Ooh. 13 kilometer for the AA. And then 11.4 when fired from smoke. So it's a battleship in everything but name in the design. So, now that we've seen this, 32% torpedo, which is not too bad. And we've talked about the armor. Let's start equipping stuff that could create a unique identity. So, we're going to use the aim system modification because that dispersion was horrendous. 225, that's right in line with, I think, the North Carolina or the Japanese battleship, I think. One of the two. 225 is very much a battleship number. And I wish you could have tried the Julius Caesar before they nerfed it. And I know it's the most ridiculously strong tier 5 battleship right now, but it used to be stronger. It had cruiser levels of dispersion. It had like 160 or 140, something like that, I don't remember. Oh my god. It was ridiculous, or 120. It was ridiculous. So I think they want to avoid that. If we ever get a caliber that's huge like this and it has the accuracy of a battleship, every cruiser will be dead instantly. It's just too accurate. So I understand that they held back on that, but it's disappointing to see it have that kind of accuracy. So you can extend the firing range with the module. It'll get it out to 21.1. So you'll be able to engage German battleships, and I believe the Italian battleship, and what was it, the tier 9 French Alsace. Yeah, you'll be able to engage that, but there'll be other battleships that can outrange you. Now, I don't know how that many people are going to use the range extension. They're probably going to use the rate of fire, and the rate of fire gets it down to 17.6, which it's pretty scary. Couple that with the adrenaline rush skill. I got it down to about 15 when I was taking a ton of damage, of course, and that's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So I've got a generic commander that I equipped to the ship. You know, you go priority target, expert marksman, superintendent. Definitely you'll notice something on superintendent, and I'll highlight that in a second. Concealment. It is a cruiser, so battleships that have the same base concealment will have a better overall concealment if they've got all of the skills, and that's infuriating. It's like, I am a smaller target. Why do I have worse overall concealment? It's so weird that they wanted to over incentivize battleships to take this skill, when if they made all of the ships have the same concealment, it would just be a healthier skill. And I think a ship like this highlights that discrepancy more. I took advanced fire training. I was not impressed with manual fire control. You don't have radar, so you're not going to get in a situation where radio location is all that effective because you're so far back just to survive. Obviously, it has no aircraft. The inertia fuse high explosive is intriguing. It makes it from like 55 to 60, 65 or something like that. And that gives you the ability to deal with the deck armor of German battleships at high tier, and I think some deck armor and other things. Not really that good, though, overall. Fire prevention, you're a cruiser, not very useful at all. You would never get into secondary gun range. So you quite literally only have like 1 or 2 skills other than concealment that are actually usable at the level 4 traits. Superintendent, you'll see why. It's a first take. You have to take it. No torpedoes on the ship. You wouldn't take that. Maybe demolition expert, but I'm not really impressed by that. Basic survivability, no, not really. It's a cruiser. It already puts that stuff out really fast. Adrenaline rush, definitely a super skill for the ship. Jack of all trades, that might be useful, and then you get obviously the signal flag, because you have so many skills, and I definitely will never use all those scout planes. So high alert. The problem is that your damage control has charges, and what? That's the weird part about this ship. So one thing that I also want to highlight is you could potentially go a rudder shift build. Because it's a cruiser, it can equip steering gears modification 3. You can get it down to 7.2. I played a game with this style, and it was interesting. The enemy battleships definitely hated firing at me because I was so maneuverable. And the turrets kept up with the maneuverability, so I didn't feel like it was bad. However, you give up a lot. You have to rely on almost full 30 seconds of fire, and with limited charges on your damage control, that's not very attractive. You don't get to use the concealment skill system, so again, you're going to be easier to spot than a lot of battleships. I don't know how viable that build will be with the rudder shift, but I just want to let you know it exists since it's a cruiser. And here we are at probably the most controversial part of this whole ship, is the loadout for the consumables. Damage control is a charge base. The October Revolution had a similar design. This does mean that premium is more powerful, and disappointingly, if you don't run premium, don't play this ship. It's that simple. Having 3 charges sucks, and I obviously have an extra charge from Superintendent. 3 charges suck. You will run out of that in the first like 5 or 10 minutes. So you need premium consumable and you need Superintendent. You have to take that skill. You can equip defensive fire or hydroacoustic. Don't know why you would equip hydroacoustic. You should never be that close to a target. You can only equip a spotting aircraft. You can't equip a fighter. You can't equip the Soviet cruiser radar system. And honestly, that's good because that would bait you into the kill box. This is not a ship that wants to be within 11.3 kilometers of the target. This is a ship that wants to be 15 and 20 kilometers. That's just what a lot of Soviet cruisers want to be. And this one in particular, probably more so than others, it's just so big. And then, of course, it can equip the heel. So, it's an interesting ship. I don't think that it will be particularly useful cruiser. This feels like a Soviet destroyer for objective play and team aspects. It's sort of a battleship light. And let's face it, battleships are the least impactful type in the game. They quite literally rely on every other type to actually win the game. They rack up damage, but they're not going to actually contribute to objective play. You can't get close to a destroyer without it punishing you, and I'm not blaming battleships, I'm just saying that's the reality. As long as there are DDs up, you have to stay back. As long as there are cruisers up, you have to be mindful of their positioning. They can exploit islands and stuff like that. Since the velocity of these guns are so high, just like every other Soviet cruiser, you are encouraged to stay away from islands, and that's dangerous. So I was less than excited about the objective team aspects of the ship. But I'm sure there are battleship players that are going to be like, oh man, a battleship cruiser? That sounds just what I'm looking for. And it has defensive fire? Yeah, but what are you really defending? You're just putting up an aura that makes them less accurate. You're not actually doing damage, which is disappointing, of course. We'll see how it works out. I definitely feel out of all the tier 9s, this is the weakest by far that they've introduced from premium standpoint. Missouri, completely ridiculous. Radar on a battleship, we all know about how ridiculous that is. The Musashi, just straight up better than the Izumo because it has Yamato's 460. This is the tier 9 cruiser, Dmitry Donskoy. That is really tall in the water too. It doesn't have this gun caliber. This gun caliber is basically twice the size of Dmitry. And it basically has the same concealment. So I think it's sort of a push because one has a torpedo system, the other one doesn't. The Citadel on this one is very vulnerable, but obviously Dmitry is as well. I think these are more in line with each other than the Japanese were in their power, and I think that's healthy for the game. I don't know how attractive this ship is going to be, because, let's face it, Soviet cruisers, they're right there with the French cruisers in play. Everyone plays Germans, everyone plays Americans. That's just who is being played right now. And I just don't see a lot of Soviets, and I don't think I'll see more Soviets with the introduction of the Kronshtadt. So hopefully at some point in the very near future I can show gameplay, so you can just take it with a grain of salt at this point. Just what you see is what you get. I hope that this was interesting. My video tomorrow will be on the space battleship, or not the space battleship, the space warship mode that will be introduced for April Fools, and you can see it right here. It'll be cool. I've already got a couple of them, and I can't wait to show that off. I'll just give you a little teaser of the spaceport and the destroyer, quote unquote, the Flyfire. And this is a very different Flyfire than what I'm used to. And then the Galaxy. And this is also a very different galaxy than what I was used to way back in closed beta. Closed beta, they did something similar, and I have a very funny video where the Flyfire, it had a huge gap of armor, and a torpedo went right through it. It was a hilarious moment. But yeah, I'll show off this spaceship stuff tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Kronshtadt. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.